Hey there, it's Heather, and in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through some of the things you can do when you're processing a profile or following up actually in the system. So there's a whole separate training about the having great conversations and helping people make decisions, but this is going to focus just on the software side of it. So you can see that I submitted a guest profile and it's on my list of things to do to process that profile. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the name there to get into the contact. And then there's a number of different things I can do once I'm in the contact. If I want to update the notes here, I can just type there and click save. A little trick, I like to always put my most recent notes on top of the previous entry so that I can read backwards, but you can do whatever works best for you. And if you move that to history, it looks like it makes this blank, which it does. It gives you a new note where you can write new, you can take new notes, but it also keeps track of the old one that you just finished. So you can do that as many times as you want. I usually don't actually move them to history. I usually just keep a running list here so that I can kind of scroll down and see it all in the same place. So other things that you might want to do when you click Edit Contact, you can add them to campaigns or groups. So let's say, for instance, that I have had a great conversation with this person. They've decided to do a healthy living plan, and I want to add them into the healthy living plan and also welcome them as a brand new client. I'm just going to check the clients box and purchase a nutrition kit. I always ask somebody if they actually want the email support for their nutrition kit because it gives them a number of emails. So I want to know if that's their preference before I add them to that. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click, or I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to click save. And then you're going to see that they've been added to the client and the purchase to nutrition group, and that they've also been added to those campaigns. And the reason for that is this little link over here. So I want to take you over and just kind of explain how the two things work together. These are all of the campaigns that you could put somebody into. If they're linked to a group, all you have to do when you're editing their profile is add them into the group, and that automatically adds them into the first step of the campaign. So hopefully that makes sense. On the other hand, let's say you have somebody who's already a client and they place a reorder, but you'd like to give them that campaign again, so you're thanking them for their order and then checking in to make sure that they got everything. We'll come back to the contacts and go back into that contact form. Click on Edit Contact. And if I wanted to add them into a campaign without adding them into a group, I would just come over here and check that box and then go down and click Save. The other thing that often we get a question about is that sometimes somebody needs to go back. They accidentally clicked that they processed the profile when they hadn't yet, or they clicked that they had mailed samples when they haven't yet. So if you were to need to change steps, or if you wanted to skip a couple of steps, you could come in here and say, they didn't receive their emails, or they wanted to get a second copy of them, whatever the case might be. I'm going to go ahead and change the step, and then I'm going to come down here and save again. Okay, so the other thing that you'll want to do when you're processing profiles is when there are tasks that you're completing. So for example, let's say you're going to be adding somebody into a Facebook group for a clean eating challenge and that sort of thing. That list is on your upcoming activities. And so when I check that off, if I were to refresh this, then we can come down here and see that it's been moved to the history. And under the history, if it's crossed out, that's a task that you've completed. And if it's not crossed out, that's an email that's been sent. And if you want to see what was in the emails that you sent, you just click on the little view email and that'll pop those up for you. I think that pretty much covers the different things that you would want to do when you're actually processing a profile. Obviously, if they become a client, you add them to the client group. If they are becoming a host, you add them into the host group. If they're becoming a consultant, you add them into the consultant group. And those things might happen at various points in the conversation. So it may not happen on your first conversation. So it might not necessarily be part of that first processing profile, but it's a part of the overall process of walking them through the system. If you have any questions, please post them, and we will keep working on new tutorials for you to make sure that all of the various steps are really clear to you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.